Welcome to Mindset Transformations with Coach Myrna, a show that showcases content and how to change your brain to change your life. A show empowering women who have been abused, betrayed, abandoned, or rejected to change how they feel about themselves and become co-creative sources, attracting abundant love and happiness into their lives. I'm Coach Myrna Young. I am a certified professional coach, author of 3 books, motivational speaker, and your host. I know from personal experience that change is hard. In my book, Out of the Snares, A Story of Hope and Encouragement, I share my journey of poverty and child abuse, betrayal and disappointment, and how I turned that all around to live an abundant life. This show is going to give you the tools to do the same in your life. Our topic today is how to adopt an attitude of gratitude. And we have with us the phenomenal author, Ebony Simms. Ebony is the author of Attitude of Gratitude. But before I introduce Ebony, I would like to introduce our topic, gratitude. You see, gratitude is a path to total transformation. I want to share with you a story that I heard from Oprah that I thought it was just awesome, and I will set the tone for our conversation today. Oprah tells the story of a time that she was in pain and totally bereaved, and she called her mentor, Dr. Maya Angelou, just sobbing and looking for consolation and some pity when Dr. Angela interrupted her saying, stop it, stop your crying right now and say thank you. And of course, Oprah was shocked. That is what you call total interruption of pattern. Oprah was shocked, and she replied, now why would I say thank you for this? Dr. Angela replied, because God has put a rainbow in every cloud. And even though you can't see it now, be grateful because it's already there. And just say, thank you. Now that's pretty powerful, ain't it? Right? But I'm going to share a couple more with you. Deepak Chopra, who is one of the people that mentor me, puts it like this. He says, gratitude is like a flashlight in the darkness. It does not matter if the darkness extends for miles in every direction. All that matters is the path the flashlight shows directly in front of you. So you see, friends, if you adopt an attitude of gratitude, you just know that, you know what, good things are coming. I don't see it yet, but I'm confident and I have faith that God will turn it around. And I'm going to give you one more before I introduce you to Ebony. In his poem, The Guest House, Rami puts it yet another way. He says to welcome every guest into your home, even if there are a bunch of sorrows that clean you out of all your furniture. So, now that I have set the tone and you now feel that, I need to get me some gratitude if I don't have it already, let me tell you about author Ebony Simms. Ebony says she tried everything she knew possible to overcome her debilitating situations as she sat around in her bedroom ready to give up on the world. She explains in her newest book, Attitude of Gratitude, how a changed mindset helped her to lose her unwanted weight, become sober, overcome depression, and how importantly she walked away from a near-death experience. Ebony was raised in Washington, D.C., and she relocated to Florida after she released her first novel in May 2003. She explains the circumstances of her poverty, being molested as a child, raped in high school, and how she suffered from domestic violence for over 22 years. She studied at the University of Miami in Coral Gables, then slipped into depression after her second novel was released. Ebony was able to pull from deep within and find aspects of her pain to bring forth her third novel, discussing how grateful she is to have survived it all. You see, when you've gone through the fire, you can have gratitude. But today, ladies and gentlemen, you can have gratitude even when you're in the fire. So, Ebony, welcome. I know you've sat there for a while, but thank you for being on our show, and welcome to Mindset Transformation.
Thank you so much, Myrna. Thank you for having me today.
Okay, awesome. So we're going to get right into it, Ebony. That was, there's a whole bunch of nuggets that you've given me in your bio here. So our audience will be very interested to know how you adopted an attitude of gratitude. But before we get there, can you tell us a little bit about you and your background?
Sure, Myrna. I started journaling when I was very young, maybe about 9 or 10. I didn't have an actual journal, but I would write these really long letters out. I wouldn't particularly give them to anyone, but I would just write them out, just expressing how I was feeling, what I was going through, just more so expressing myself. Then I took those letters and I started journaling from those letters, which turned into my first novel, which is called Intimate Thoughts. And Intimate Thoughts was a very detailed.
Very nice. Okay.
Yeah, very detailed expression. It's poetry, and it's weaved into a story. What would happen to me is that I would just sit around and I would have these vivid flashbacks of my childhood and traumatic experiences. And so I just started jotting them down as best that I could remember, just to get them out. I sometimes we have this stigma about going to therapists or actually speaking to a counselor, and that was my counseling, just to get it all out.
Yeah, downloading it. Honestly, it's very good.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay.
Absolutely. And so from there, once I aired out all my dirty laundry, then, like you said, I moved to Florida with my 2 daughters, and which is now my ex, and started to, just try to make a new way and build a better life. Now, the drama that was going on up there in Washington, D.C., it came straight down here to Florida with me because at that time I didn't have a changed mindset. I was still just functioning, just living, going through my day-to-day functions and not really having any type of spiritual connection. I knew who God was and what He was as a supreme being, but I didn't have that connection with Him. Like I said, I knew He was there, but I didn't have that connection. And so I started taking classes. I wrote another book, and just doing my thing. And I fell into a really deep depression. I was sitting in my room, and I could just feel the emotional, just the emotional baggage and turmoil just coming over me. And I flipped the channel, and I'm not even watching the TV. I'm just kind of zoned out into a whole other world. And I hear Anthony Robbins. He totally just grabbed my attention. And he was talking about how he helped the stars and how he transformed lives and all of these amazing things that he were doing. And I tuned in. At that moment, I tuned in and I wanted to learn more. So I went online. I started researching anything and everything that I could find from him, from anything that I could get my hands on. And from Tony, he led me in the direction of others that he drew inspiration from. And definitely one of the guys that he was talking about was Deepak Chopra. He was also talking about Dr. Wayne Dyer.
Right.
God rest his soul. Yeah.
Okay.
He was also talking about him. And then from those guys, I started researching who they studied from. And so it took me back further and further and further until I got a hold of the copy of The Secret, and I played The Secret over and over and over and over again. And it's one little part, and it's so small and it's so minute. But that part was, to get to all of this that we're discussing is to have an attitude of gratitude. And that, I mean, when I say that hit me, like it just rushed into my spirit. And I was just like, oh my God, like this is it. It's like, it's like you found a key, you found a source, you found something,
Wow.
And so that's how I've been living my life.
You have a key on the cover of your book. That's what that came from, huh? Awesome.
Exactly. So
now that is a compelling story.
Yeah.
The Deep Depression, I know that, and it's true because, I live it, is that happiness is working towards a goal. So I'm going to assume that as soon as you had a purpose, as soon as you found knowledge, as soon as you found inspiration, your depression went away. I'm not telling you right. What happened to your depression?
Well, what happened is it allowed me to change the situation that I was in. I was in a horrible domestic violence relationship. We were in this relationship over 13 years, and we lived together and just did not like each other. Like we were so much better apart than we ever were together, ever. I was 60 pounds overweight. I lost the 60 pounds. I was in a job that I couldn't stand. I got a different job. I just went in, my whole life just went into a different direction. But what happened was,
really powerful.
What happened was, as I got this newfound freedom, I gravitated to this scene in Miami where all my friends were partying. And so, I mean, I was just living it up. I was having an exciting time. I was living it. I was 60 pounds lighter. I was free and single.
You got sexy clothes now that you can put
on. Yeah, exactly. And so so I hooked up with these promoters. We would party from Thursday to Sunday. And
Miami is the place.
Exactly, but that wasn't what I needed. I was able to get away from the situation that I was in, but then I got drawn to another situation which I didn't need.
Yeah.
And so with that, it came.
That happens with our kids a lot, right?
Yeah, exactly. It came, and that's what it felt like, a grown kid just having freedom now and doing exactly what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
So I was invited to this pool party, and I particularly didn't want to go to the pool party, but I said, well, maybe, I'll just go, just to shut my friends up. I'll just go. You understand what I'm saying? So I felt a deep pulling on my spirit saying, don't go.
Wow.
But instead,
guidance.
I said, I'll just go anyway. And so I definitely want the listeners to take this nugget. When you feel in your spirit that you should or should not be doing something, that's your inner being telling you this is not good. This is not right. This is not what you should be doing. And so when you go against that, you in turn have to suffer the consequences for not listening to that inner being. So after the party, I went home, and about somewhere close to midnight, because it was a day party, but we left about maybe 9 o'clock. So by the time I got home, I felt ill. I felt a lump in my throat. I didn't feel well. For the next 24 hours, I was violently ill. I was vomiting. I had diarrhea. I mean, I had fluids coming out of my ears, my nose, my eyes.
Goodness.
My urine was orange. I was sick. I was sick, and I felt as if I was dying. At one point, I wanted to call the ambulance to go to the emergency room. The closest hospital to me was the hospital that I worked at, so the ambulance would have taken me there. And then the next closest hospital was the hospital where I wanted to work at, in which I happen to work there now. And so I refused to go to the hospital. I laid in the bed, and I felt myself leaving myself. I felt as if I was drifting in and out of consciousness.
Wow.
There came an illuminating light on my left-hand side, Myrna, and it lit up my whole room, and I clearly heard the voice of Jesus. He said, either you're going to die young like the rest of your family, or you can take up your cross and follow me. At that moment, Myrna, all I could say was, I'll follow you, Lord. I'll follow you.
You actually verbalized it, or you said it in your mind?
I said it. I said, I'll follow you, Lord. I'll follow you. And I began to feel myself come back. I wasn't completely healed, but I could feel myself coming back. And slowly and gradually, my body began to heal. It started to heal itself. Now, when I said those words, I didn't know what I'll follow you, Lord, I'll follow you meant. I didn't know what that meant, but I know that I had said it, and I was going to do everything in my power to keep my word, to keep my commitment. And
that's good.
And
that is awesome. Now, I will tell you, I just realized this recently, but I always know that when you have a near-death experience, you see the light. So, but what I also know now that I have a friend that works in a hospice, and I know this is going to get a little graphic to some of our listeners, but she tells me that when you're dying, fluid comes all over, just like you were saying, out of everywhere. Your body just sheds the fluid. So you were definitely, going into the dying stage. So God pulled you back, and I know I don't want to get ahead of myself, but I know you have been following him, and you have picking up that cross. And he only does that when he's got a purpose for your life. And, he needs you to go out and tell the world, that he is Lord. So, he pulled you back from the brink of death because you were definitely in the final stages of going on to the other side, and he pulled you back. So that is definitely a testimony. And here you are telling the world you're doing what you said you were going to do. So I commend you for that. That is a beautiful, inspiring story. So you left the depression. You went on to happiness, but happiness in a bad way, drinking and partying. So tell us, after you picked up your cross and say that you will follow him, what did you do next? And tell us a little bit about your daughters and how, I know you said you had a family and your daughters. What did you do next after you promised?
Yeah, so what happened next is I went on to proceed in my daily activities, to go to work, to try to make some normal out of what had just happened to me. Now, in my normal, my friends that I was hanging out with, I wasn't the same. It's my life. I was different. I was still in my same body, but my being was totally different. So
you've been touched.
So the
like
things
Jacob,
that I was doing,
when the Lord touched you were different, of course.
I was different. I'm different. So the things that I was doing, the drinking, Myrna, I swear to you, I haven't taken one drink since then. And that last drink was April 5th. 2014. We're now in 2016, so it's been it's been 2 years.
2 years. Yes.
2 years now. Not one single drink. Thank you. I've also committed my life, or this portion of my life, to celibacy. I had a conversation with God. He told me a certain amount of years that he wanted me to do this. He said, and once that is complete, your next man will be your husband. Because I was living frivolously and recklessly. And so now this portion of my life is devoted to healing. And Myrna, it hasn't been easy. Like, this lifestyle has not been easy. I've lost friends. I've had family members stop talking to me. And even my kids didn't know what was going on with me. They're just like, because they lived with their dad, they were looking at me when I would visit them like, Mom, what's going on with you? You know, like, what happened to you?
It's anything to do with positivity and seeing a positive change. I am pretty sure that they would much prefer you this way than the partying, drinking Mom. But, so you have picked up your cross. You have followed God. You have not drank. You're celibate. Because, and when you say that it's hard, because those things are of the flesh. And we live in a world where the flesh is constantly being bombarding. And it is incredibly hard. So, again, I commend you for this period of sainthood, because that's basically what you're doing. You're a saint. You're denying your flesh. And I think I read in one of your previous interviews, you also fast. So that's another way of denying your flesh.
Absolutely.
How often do you do that?
What I was doing with the fast is, for the first 6 months of my sobriety, after every 30 days, I would go on a 3-day complete fast. I would only have water or very clear liquids. And what it does, or what it did for me, I know, is that it brought my entire body, my spirit, my soul, my mind into subjection. And it was like, it was, how can I explain it? It was total submission to God. And every morning still, from that day until now, I lay out before the Lord. Every morning I have a blanket that I've laid down, and I lay my face on a cloth, and I completely surrender myself to God before I leave out the house in the morning. And I invite the Holy Spirit in. I invite the Holy Spirit in, and I said, it's all about you. It's none about me, And it's not a ritual that I go through. It's a prayer. My knees are bad. I have bad knees. So I don't get down on my knees and pray unless I feel the need to.
Well, hey, you lay out. You put your face
I don't
on
want
the ground.
That's right. I don't want
better.
any excuses. Yeah. So so it's a complete surrendering. Like, Lord, this is your body. Use it as you will. Allow me to do your work today. Allow me to talk to who you want me to talk to meet who you want me to meet. And I found that since I've been doing that, I've been a much calmer person. I don't get so hyped up off of the daily nuances that go on in my life. I have a more tranquil, I'm more tranquil, and I feel more centered. I also watch what I put into my body. I notice that I eat healthier. This is serious. Like we
well, listen, I call you, Saint Ebony, because you are just doing all the right things, and the fact that God brought you from where you were, the poverty, the rape, the abuse, you're almost like a Paul. It is it's amazing and very inspiring.
I totally relate to Paul.
Yeah.
Myrna, I totally relate to Paul.
Yeah, it's so inspiring. And listeners, I hope that you are just, hearing this, that there is a process, and where you are today is not what you're going to be tomorrow. That even if you are in the bottom, in the gutter, yes, there is light, there is sunshine, there is, gratitude, because we're going to get to that in a minute. But for now, let's take a quick station break, and we will be right back.
To every man, there comes that special moment when he's figuratively tapped upon the shoulder and has to do that special thing, suited to him and fitted to his character. That special thing. What a tragedy! A tragedy if that moment finds him unqualified and unprepared to do the work which would be his finest hour. That special thing. Are you living your dreams?
All right. Well, thank you for tuning in to Mindset Transformations with Coach Myrna. Our very special guest today is author Ebony Simms of The Attitude of Gratitude. In the first segment of our show, we talked about, Ebony's background, her inspiration, how she met God when she was close to dying, and they made a promise and a commitment to him to pick up her cross and follow him. Now, I am inspired listening to Ebony. It's such a beautiful story. It's such a beautiful testimony. But what we want to talk about now is, Ebony went through that process. And what it did was give her a book to talk about even being grateful for the process, being grateful for the test. So, Ebony, so let me ask you, I know you told us about your lifestyle before you adopted Attitude of Gratitude. So tell me how the Attitude of Gratitude developed from your encounter with the Holy Spirit.
Sure. Once my encounter with the Holy Spirit, I just started to view things differently. I had been carrying around so much emotional baggage from being molested by my grandmother's husband, which is my step-grandfather, being raped in high school, my mother dying of AIDS. My brother was killed, and it was set up like a suicide.
I'm feeling the daggers, Ebony.
To my chest. One more thing, my aunt that raised me, she died within 30 days of lung cancer. So it was just a pattern of just death and destruction. So I was carrying around that baggage with me. But after I had that encounter, I made a list of each one of those things, and I found a reason to be grateful for each one of those things.
Oh, wow.
Now, someone will look at that.
Now, that is a tall order. That's getting totally outside the flesh.
Yeah,
anyway,
but somebody will look at those things and say, well, how could you be grateful for being molested? How can you be grateful for being raped? How could you be, for your mother dying of AIDS? What it made me do is I was grateful that I had the time to spend with my mother that I did, and that she was able to instill in me. My mother had genuine love for me. Now, she didn't have so much love for herself, but she had genuine love for me, and I could feel the love when I sat and meditated on it.
To your self-confidence. Yes.
Exactly. With my step-grandfather, it made me pay closer attention to my daughters and the young women around.
Oh, my God. That is so true.
And so what it made me do is to be grateful for having a watchful eye. You know what I mean?
Oh, my goodness.
For my brother, my brother taught me how to ride a bike. I was about 7 or 8 years old, and I just couldn't get it together. I would fall off the bike. I would scratch my knees. I would have a terrible time with the bike.
That's what brothers do.
Training wheels.
Oh, wow.
Yes, he was 10 years older than me. He took those training wheels off my bike, and he sat and made me ride that bike. And to today, my last ride, it was about a week ago, was 20 miles. The ride before that was 30 miles. And each time
I remember him every time you do it.
Every time I get on that bike, I think about my
Yes.
brother, and
Yes.
I love him
Yes.
so much, you know. He also he had an amazing daughter before he passed away. She was about 5 years old when he passed. He's been gone about 20 years now, and I believe Ashley is about 25, if I'm not mistaken. And I love that girl so much. I love her so much. And so for that, I find gratitude in. And she has a son now, and he reminds me so much of my brother. And, you know, and I'm just grateful for them. I'm grateful to have them in my life. I'm grateful when they come to visit here in Florida. And those are just some of the things that I took to be grateful for.
Wow.
My
I didn't even know that you were going to say that. But how did I start to show off? I start to show off by saying that you should say thank you for your sorrows because God has put a rainbow in every cloud. And here you are confirming that because you have actually lived through it. Yes. Yes, that's beautiful. So honestly, yes, adopting an attitude of gratitude. You know, yes, there's lessons in every storm. In fact, God doesn't give you a test other than to make you stronger and to have you be prepared for the next journey. So the things that you went through, yes, unwatchable. And, you know, it's time for, you know, for us to say, you know, talk about my book. As I mentioned earlier in, you know, in my introduction, that my book, Out of the Snares, talks about when I was sexually molested as a child. And I will tell you that when my daughter was born, and my daughter was born, you know, like 20 years later, something like that, from that experience, and it came right back to life. And I was incredibly watchful. You know, in my first book, I tell a story that my sister was living with me with her husband, and her husband would try to want to bathe my daughter when she was 5 years old, and they would be sitting in the tub naked together. And I said, absolutely no way. I am not going to have a man, you know, in a tub with my child. But yeah, you became watchful, you became protective, and you're more aware of the mistakes that that people make by bringing, you know, women make a lot of mistakes by bringing strange men into the house with their daughters. And these are usually what happens. You look at Oprah, you know, studying Oprah, because, you know, I'm a speaker and I'm an author, and I study biographies. Exactly what happened to Oprah, exactly what happened to Maya Angelou, another person that I follow and I adore. The same thing. Their mothers, boyfriends are the ones that molested them and raped them. So women, you have to be very careful. And the gratitude is that when you have gone through it, nobody is going to dare do it to your child. You're not going to have it. It's not under your watch. So that's one thing to be grateful for. It's a terrible way to become grateful, but that's how God wrote the story, right? And we just got to be grateful for it. So that is excellent. I am really enjoying talking to you, and I know that our audience is getting lots and lots of nuggets. So what motivated you to write the book? I know that you had the encounter with God, your gratitude changed, you changed, but what made you decide to tell the story to the world?
Okay. Now, with attitude of gratitude, what I would do is I was journaling, and I would take just life instances of what was happening with me, how I would be feeling a certain day. I would jot down a little poem to the Lord. I would make up rhymes. You know, I would pull pieces from sermons I listened to, from books that I've read, and I would put this all in a journal. And I would read it to myself daily. Like, I would read it, and when I would read it to myself, my spirit just started to leap. Like, I would get so excited just reading it.
Wow.
this was my personal thing. This was for me, my personal thing. I had never decided to do a book on this. But what happened is the 2 books that I wrote previously were more worldly based. The book that came after Intimate Thoughts, the book that came after that was called Moist, and it was about a young girl that was dating a guy. Well, anyway, it was a worldly book. I wrote a sequel to that book called Miami Nights, and that was even more intense. It was along the lines of 50 Shades of Grey, but it was very, and it's a very
well, that's a big turnaround.
Exactly,
right. Okay.
A very intense book. And so what I did was I submitted this book to the company that Zane publishes with Streetboard Books, and I received a notification that we were going to go over the book. We were going to talk about the book, and I simply replied, "I no longer write that way. I'm in a whole different direction right now." And
very nice.
It was laid on my heart to take this little book and distribute it as Attitude of Gratitude. And that's where it came from, Myrna.
Very good. Yeah, well, you were an internal processor. As a coach, I understand how people process, and you process things, spiritually and internally. So what you were trying to do is be creative and lift your own spirit and, mentor yourself. And, obviously I know that you're receiving inspiration and direction from the Holy Spirit, and he turned it around to let you know that, the world needs to listen to this. The world needs to be inspired. The world needs their spirits lifted by, your work from Attitudes of Gratitude. So awesome. I commend that for you. I commend that to you. So what do you do in your daily life now that embodies the concept of living with an attitude of gratitude every day?
What I do now is, like I said, I lay out in the morning before I go to work. Also, I can pick up on energies, and where I work now, it's so interconnected. The company employs over 8,000 people just in the state of Broward County alone. And so you're passing and you're interchanging with people all day. I have heard back on so many occasions where people have come back to me and said, it's just when I see you walking down the hall, it's like you have a light around you.
Oh, wow.
And I'm going to tell you why. This is what I can't explain why, but I'm going to tell you what happens. If somebody walks towards me or past me and I feel, let's say I feel a negative pull or negative energy, I instantly start to pray for them in my mind. And it could be something brief or short, and I said, Lord, help them, or help me to help them. Or whatever they're going through, Lord, just touch their heart. Or whatever it is, I just begin to pray and I begin to give God the praise for everything, because you don't know what somebody else is going through, and you may take their negative energy onto you. You understand what I'm saying? And instead of taking their negative energy,
totally.
Instead of taking their energy and allowing it to dump on you, because sometimes it dumps on you, what you do is you reflect it with a positive energy towards them. I find anything on people. It could be their shoes. Oh, those are beautiful shoes. oh, that blouse you have, and that's a lovely color on you. Those pants, and it's not a fictitious thing. And I don't say anything that I don't like. You know, if it was something that I didn't like, I just totally ignore that and find something that I like.
Wow.
Yeah, it could be an earring or a gentleman's tie. Or we all love compliments, Myrna. You know,
yeah.
and I'm not talking about a fictitious something very genuine. So just imagine someone is coming from their heart, their genuine heart, and they're expressing something to you as you pass by. It brings a smile about you. You know what I mean? It brings a different pep in your step or something.
Well, that is actually awesome. And, like, you know, I learned from a lot of people, and that is a very powerful way to live because, especially in the corporate world, you know, we're all going to be, you know, involved in people that gives us negative energy. You can't help it in the corporate world. And that is a beautiful, you know, way to live where that you would, instead of, you know, having an attitude of not gratitude, an attitude of, you know, she don't like me and I'm not going to like her, or an attitude of gossip, or an attitude of any of those things, you pray for someone. But that is absolutely beautiful, you know, audience. If you can, you know, adopt that, the world would be a much better place. Now, I do something similar to what you ended with. You know, I have found, I think Deepak, again, you know, we both follow, admire the same people, but Deepak teaches that you should give a blessing to everyone that you meet, whether it's a silent blessing or if it's a verbal blessing. So what I do, I don't do the silent blessing like you do, but I verbally, you know, when I meet somebody, I always give them a compliment. I find something that I like about them, and I give them a compliment, or I bless them in some way by, you know, when I meet somebody. And that is a powerful way to be. It's really good. And you're right. You cannot be. It's got to be genuine, else it backfires. Because, you know, for instance, the other day I was at church, and I was, you know, I had on a dress that I just put on, you know, there wasn't anything special. I just put it on because I haven't worn it for a while. And this girl came up to me, and she said something about, you look beautiful. At least that's what I thought she said. And I turned around and I said to her, I do? Because I know I didn't look beautiful. But then she says, no. I said, your necklace is beautiful because I am wearing a really stunning necklace. And I said, oh, yeah, thank you. But you know what I mean? It is, you know, if somebody's giving you a fake compliment, you know, it doesn't do anything because you know if you're, you get my point? But that is such a beautiful way. And what you have about you is in Halo. And, you know, I didn't get to comment on it when you were talking earlier, but because you went on to, you bridged it with something else. But when you start your day in that positive attitude, you know, telling God that you want to be his servant and you want to go out there, when you start your way that way, you must have a halo around you. You must have a halo. It's not like you do it every Sunday when you go to church, which is when most people do it, but you do it every morning. And that sets the tone. And I can also tell my audience that I have seen the people that you work, how they responded to supporting you in your book. And if you were not a godly person and a person that they loved, they wouldn't support you. So I see the evidence of exactly what you're saying. Now, okay, so we're going to take another quick station break and come back to our final segment. We'll be right back.
To every man, there comes that special moment when he's figuratively tapped upon the shoulder and has to do that special thing. Suited to him and fitted to his character, that special thing. What a tragedy if that moment finds him unqualified and unprepared to do the work which would be his finest hour. That special thing. Are you living your dreams?
All right, welcome back to Mindset Transformations with Coach Myrna. As you know, we are talking to a very special guest, Miss Ebony Simms. She is the author of Attitude of Gratitude, and she has been telling us how an attitude of gratitude has allowed her to be such a warm and giving and loving person, a halo for the people she works with, her family, how she has adopted a life of celibacy and no drinking, and she denies the flesh with fasting, and all this so that she can be grateful for all the things that have gone in the past and so that she can do God's work in the future. So as we wrap up our show today, we want to ask Ebony how she thinks your audience can improve your life by being grateful. What nuggets would you leave to our audience, Ebony?
Absolutely, Myrna. What I will go back to is when Paul went through his transformation and he saw the vision and the light of Jesus, and he started, when he became a follower of Christ, even Paul had a thorn. You understand what I'm saying? So even, and the Bible never tells us what that thorn in his side was, but I remember the Bible saying that Paul had a thorn in his side. What I want the listeners to take away from this is that we are not living in a perfect world. We are going to have, it's going to be issues. It's going to be trials. It's going to be temptations. It's going to be things that come up in our daily lives. Excuse me. People that we love are going to die. They're going to abandon us. Things are going to happen. But it's how we view those things that we get our greatest reward out of them. It's how we respond to those things. It's how we interact with people. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah. It's your attitude. Just use that word.
Yeah,
your attitude. Yep.
Maya Angelou says, and I know it's been said hundreds and thousands and millions of times, you make lemonade out of those lemons. You understand? I think Beyonce just put out a new album.
Right, yeah, exactly. That's exactly what you did.
Yeah. And it's turning.
She's talking, I guess, about making lemonade out of her lemon marriage. Man.
Exactly. Yeah. And so that, and I know it's funny, but we have to take on that attitude. You know, you have to take on that attitude. You have to be grateful.
Nugget. That's a great nugget. Yep.
Every day I find something to be grateful for. Even if, like, I absolutely love shopping, Myrna. And what I find the best clothes in the Goodwill. I mean, I'm talking about, I just recently found a $1,300 Chanel jacket and I got it for $4. Okay. So when I put on my I put on my Chanel jacket and I'm walking through the halls at my new job, I'm feeling grateful. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I find.
Well, you probably know how to shop the Goodwill, right?
I do.
To find things like that. That is great.
Absolutely.
Yep.
I find something to be grateful for in every day of my life. I do not go to bed without finding something to be grateful for, Myrna. When I was looking over my bills, what clicked with me is these are invoices for things that I've already used. That electric bill, that water bill.
Yeah, I heard someone else say that. Yes,
exactly.
Yes. Grateful for the bills. Yeah, because you're alive. You're living. That's good. Yes.
I'm grateful because these are things that I'm using. I'm using every day. I have to pay for them, you know.
Great.
I'm grateful. I find gratitude in those royalty checks that come in the mail to me from my book Attitude of Gratitude. I mean, and it's surprising each time the checks come in the mail, it surprises me. I mean, they're quarterly checks. So when they come in and I open them up, I mean, I'm waving them in there. I'm excited about that. because this is like, these are works that we've already done.
That's what passive income is. And I teach people, to write a book or something like that to get passive income. And that's income. You don't have to do anything. You wrote the book once, and the money keeps coming in. You don't have to do anything. You have your book in Kindle, and, the royalty checks come in. Mine is, the same way. And that's what passive income is about.
Absolutely.
That is awesome. Now, okay, so what I want to do is also leave something for you, my audience, to, wrap up in a nice little bow what our subject was today, being grateful. And what I want to leave you with is that when you are grateful, and this comes from Deepak Chopra again, when you are grateful, you have grace. And grace is something that would fill you up like water fills a jar, and that has no holes or cracks. And that's what Ebony is talking about, where people think that she's got to be a halo. They see this light around her because she's glowing, because she has grace. It just fills you up. And what it also allows you to do is to see the bigger picture, how everything is interconnected. And when you have generosity of spirit in your interactions with others, and you accept them, and you show and appreciate their point of view, then they appreciate you more. Your relationships are better. Again, Ebony touched on that. So, grateful and being grateful and having an attitude of gratitude is so important. Also, God doesn't give you anything unless you're grateful for what you've got right now. So if you want to get more, you've got to be grateful. We always tell our kids how they're so ungrateful, and that's why they're not getting anything more. It works with that, like that with our Father. Now, one of the things that I do, Ebony talks about her morning routine, how she gets up every morning and lays face down and talks to God. My morning routine, I meditate and then I write, because when I meditate, I'm receiving inspiration from, the universe and the Holy Spirit. So I write those down. And I end my morning routine with something that's called gratitude flooding. And I got that from Steve Harvey. He talks about every morning he, says about 80 things that he's grateful for. Now, he's got a whole bunch more to be grateful for than me, but I do about 35 things right now, and I say it, every one of them. I'm grateful for this, I'm grateful for that, I'm grateful for that. And by the time I get to item number 20, right, I do have this glow. I do feel good because, when you're grateful, it makes your world so much brighter. And a lot of times, we will only concentrate on the things that we don't have, right, and not be grateful for the little things. I am so grateful that I can see, that I can talk, that I can walk to the bathroom, that I have breath in my body. Things like that people totally ignore. What they're saying, oh, you know what? My bills are $1,500 and I only have $1,200. And they live in the fact that they're short $300 every month. And when you live in that space of lack, it's been proven that what you attract is more lack. But if you found some way to be grateful that at least you got $1,200, right, guess what? The universe is going to make it up for you. So that's the nugget that I want to leave with you. Now, Ebony, tell our audience how they can, purchase a copy of your book, and if you have like a website that they can get in touch with you. If, I'm not sure if you do speaking engagements or anything like that. Tell our audience how they can reach you.
Yes, Myrna. Actually, I have been speaking and signing books. You can absolutely get in touch with me at Ebony Simms, and that's EBONYSIMMS books, BOOKS.com. My email address is the same thing, but it's Ebony Simms Books, and that's with 2 M's, @gmail.com. I'm also available by telephone, and I love to talk to you and hear from you. My phone number is area code 239-851-1918. Again, that's 239-851-1918. The books are available at my website. They're also available at all the distributors online, whether it's Amazon.com, BarnesandNobles.com, the company that I wrote the book with, AuthorHouse.com. Anywhere that you're able to purchase a book online, my book should be connected with the company there.
Awesome. I'm sure that our audience is going to run out and purchase your book, Attitude of Gratitude, because they have been shown in this radio show how adopting an attitude of gratitude and how you have done it and improved the quality of your life significantly. So thanks for tuning in to our show today as we looked at how to transform your mindset with an attitude of gratitude. I am Coach Myrna Young. You can visit me on the web at www.myrnayoung, which is MYRNAYOUNG, helps, HELPS.com. Or you can get a copy of this recording on my YouTube channel, which is MyHelps, MYHELPS. And you'll be able to subscribe to that channel so you can get all of our future recordings. So until next week, please tune in again to Mindset Transformation with Coach Young, Myrna Young. You have a wonderful night, and thank you. Goodbye.